Hey everybody, how's it going? Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. Just kind of getting caught up here. Had a few different questions popping up in the feedback loop channel this morning. Gonna go some different directions this morning. It looks like we've got a lot on the case study front. Rebecca's got some questions kind of related to Melanie's ongoing portfolio overhaul. If you happen to have watched that, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up and see if Melanie's actually got hers working. So we'll have hers, we'll have a working version of the same code next to the code that I'm going to show you, Rebecca. So you've got a place to kind of go investigate. I have a responsive CSS only hamburger menu thing that I think would definitely help you out. I am, by the way, Rebecca, super happy to hear that you're going to implement that, because I've always thought your menu was like super tall. But I do try to not like hammer everybody into doing things exactly like I do it, or exactly the way I would do it. So, while I'm gleeful, I also, I'm not judgmental if you decide not to change that out. But you were asking about this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and show that. And then Katie's got some COVID questions related to projects she should be targeting. She found 5 more that she wants to look at. So the first 6 I took a look at, and I just I threw her some feedback. But she submitted some more pretty late last night. Although West Coast, Katie, not as late as it looks like here in Discord. But we got James, we got Katie, we got Rebecca. I'm really just waiting for Couchbot to fire. And hey, there's Couchbot. So basically on demand. And this is really weird. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, sorry. My Discord on my iPad was acting a little weird. So let's pop the switch on this, all right? Hey, greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It is time for the feedback loop. We've got several people in here today. Got James making an appearance. Rebecca and Katie have questions as well. And we're going to jump right into it because there's a lot of ground to cover. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, provided I can make it back to there. There we go. Okay, so what we're looking at now is James's draft for his Squawk prototype, and it's not the draft for the prototype; it's the draft of the case study for the prototype. When you don't have a portfolio ready to go, I always lean on Medium as a way to quickly get out something that people can get to. It's like one link here, go read this case study. I think Medium is a pretty easy way to kind of give you a case study in a box template. It's like, okay, I got a couple of image size options, I've got text, and you go. It's not where I want your case studies to live long term. Obviously, I want them to live in your portfolio. But when you don't have a portfolio yet, this is a great place to get that going, because you can share from here with potential collaborators, or with, for internships, things like that. So it's very early. This is the first draft of the case study for Squawk. So right now, I see a lot of material going in. There's a lot of the right ideas. I think the order, James, is a bit off. So Squawk, improving podcast discovery in a connected world. Got it. Duration, team, and role. I want that to kind of be further down, because I really want you to introduce me to what it is that you're working on. Squawk is a conceptual podcast that empowers users to find Okay, flip that to the top. That's like the little blurb that tells me what it is. Also, show it to me. Show me what it is that we're talking about. You know, if this was a pure research project, and Katie had one of those, I would still want to see some sort of visual to kind of set the tone, so I could kind of wrap my head around this. Like, what do you mean? What is this thing? And I know you have some visuals as you get further down, like, but you've got to get like really into it, like down here. These are the first real visuals that we see for the project. I want to get those earlier. Okay, so whatever we're doing up here, I need it to set the tone for, hey, here's what we're talking about. I had a similar conversation with Lisa yesterday about her case study. So context, as the podcast industry grows, and here's the background on the thing at present, here's the problem. And then you explain the problem, and then you explain the solution. And in between, you have this kind of hypothetical, like, let's do this hypothetical search for Elon Musk. It's kind of interesting. I don't hate that approach. But this context part, I wonder if it's because it's lacking the visuals up top. I'm getting a little thrown off. It's like as I'm coming into it, I realize you're setting me up for context, but I still haven't seen it. Is this a research project? Is this a prototype? What is this thing? And I realize it's all right there, but I'm not seeing that half of it. Okay. As podcast industry grows, blah, blah, I first end up podcasts are unique in the sense that participants in the discussion may be more important. So what I think should happen here, to be honest with you, problem, solution, context, Elon Musk. Okay, like tell me what the issue is. Podcast delivery methods fail to deliver an experience. Okay, great. Tell me what the solution is. Okay, great. Give me some context. All right. Now walk me through the hypothetical. I think right now you've kind of got them all mixed together, and that's bugging me a bit. Like tell me, what it is, problem, solution, what's your context, Elon Musk, and then like, if you want to have this between the two, and like I could even say, this would be after solution. Like this is the top part, linked to the prototype from there, and then start walking through. And then start walking through the other elements of this. I think that would be something that might work for you. And then this is really kind of getting into the process of doing the research, and this is where I might like break out a header that says my process. Discovery, or like what phase of the research of the design processes is, kind of indicating that I'm done with the setup. All right, the setup is all up here, right? And then once you get to here, you're kind of leaning into the design process, and it says ideation and design. Design starts like the moment that you sit down and you're like, oh, well, how would I find out about this thing? So I think ideation is fine. I don't necessarily think you need to. I bristle at calling this design for just complete clarity. Like this design isn't doesn't start here with the wireframes. But again, we're informing people. We're telegraphing to people what design is when we talk about it, and I just don't want people. I want to fight against this idea that once I can see it, it's design. No, you were designing the moment that you were up here and you were kind of figuring out the problem, right? You had a design for your process. As we come on through, we're getting into these images, and I like the progression. The one thing I would say that I think would be beneficial is to. That's kind of weird. I'm not sure why that's. Oh, it's where that's supposed to be clipping. Got it. All right. So this. I do believe that there should be like some version of this and this or this early on. Like show me that leap from the wireframe to the finished up top. If you have it even gets better if you have like an early sketch that's like really janky and like just rough and raw. Something that shows the scope of the move. And then, what we haven't seen yet, I see testing down here. And you're getting it, like, love it when you show the visual, show the actual movements. It is a bit large. You can't get it all on the screen at the same time. And this is where you begin to run into limitations with Medium. To be completely honest, this might be a spot where you consider designing it a little small and then giving it some space to the side to kind of build in some padding that Medium doesn't have available, or maybe you build this within some Chrome, and you let the video play while you're recording it, and then you upload that. There's a few different ways that you can go about doing this, but obviously, you can't see the whole thing here, and Medium's kind of limited with what you can do to the visuals. It is nice that you were using GiphyCat to upload that. So, I was just talking about GiphyCat with Katie yesterday. So, yeah, overall, I think this is good. I'm not seeing, I'm not getting the setup of what it is early enough. I do think that there's some reorganization that can happen here to kind of grease the skids to get you in. I would like to see some sort of link to the prototype early on, so people could bounce out and go look at it, without maybe they don't want to get into all this, and that's really, what I want to always emphasize is you could have 30 seconds, you could have a minute, but you gotta get your point across very fast. You don't have the time to necessarily, hey, I'm gonna set this up. You're gonna follow me along for the whole ride. You just can't assume that. You gotta give them the gist of it very quickly, and I feel like your problem solution's getting a bit buried, and just some reorg would help. I'm also kind of looking to see, because I'm worried that Medium's hiding the link, but I don't think it is. So if you've got that link to the prototype, like I think this is a link, but I don't think it's not going to. Yeah. All right. Okay. I was thinking it might go to the prototype, but it was going to something else. Anyway, I want to see that. I want to have the ability to get to that prototype early. I could even see a world where this this is living up top, like, because I'll get the idea really fast if I see a moving image up here, but at the same time, how do you how you set that image? Like, you could do a lot of different things. You could show the arc, you could show the video, whatever it is. We need something up top to get this started, because I'm seeing the images down below, but I'm not seeing the lead. I'm not seeing the lead yet, and I know that's coming. So let's get that in there. Let's consider a movement around of these elements. Can we get a prototype link, and then we'll take a second stab at it. Okay, but right parts. I'm seeing a lot of the right stuff, but it's the reordering, I think, is what's necessary. So let's move over here to Katie. Katie's questions, I think, are really helpful. These are COVID projects she's considering applying for, and the answers I'm going to give Katie are a lot different than I would probably give you if you were sitting down with me asking the same questions. My answers to Katie are going to be very specific to where she's at in her journey, considering Katie is just getting into UI. She's just finished up UX, which means that she's probably ready to jump in and flex her muscles and try out some research-focused problems. She might be able to get into some wireframing or some user testing, but she's not necessarily set up with everything that I'd like her to have to do, like some interface design. So the wireframing is like maybe, research tasks definitely. So as you jump in and look at these at your own projects that are opportunities that are out there, think about where your strengths are and apply them to what we're going to see. The other thing I'm always looking for in particular for any sort of volunteer project is, am I certain this isn't a profit-focused startup cloaking itself as a volunteer project? That's the danger right now that we're in. There's a lot of people that were startups that began in 2017. CareSite. Not that I know of one of those, but they started in 2017. But now they're suddenly a COVID project because they're somehow COVID related. But they've been a startup this entire time. So are they COVID related, or are they just looking for free work? That's what we're looking out for. I don't want you doing free work. I want you doing good work. And here we have Breathe Zimbabwe, helping people breathe and saving lives in Zimbabwe through building and donating breathing equipment, ventilators, masks, CPAPs. Okay, so one thing I like to look at here is I like to know who's on the team. And anytime you get very specific, like here are the names. I could go in and Google, let's say Tim Mason here. Tim Mason is the acting chief engineer. He's a naval architect. He's a techie. I'm just going to Google Tim Mason, LinkedIn engineer. Do I find a Tim Mason? Here it is, LinkedIn Zimbabwe. I'm guessing consultant Navy architect. So this is Tim. Tim exists, and that's good to know. Like I want to find real people. I feel better about a project that's being transparent about who's working on it. And then I look at the tasks that need to get done. Okay. So when I think about Katie and where she's at, I'm looking for UX-focused tasks. Support mentoring, coaching teams, supporting team, human resource management, software coding for medical devices, newsletter writing, graphic design, media relations, social media, writing grants, managing volunteers, engineers, transport, medical grade. I don't see a whole lot over here. You know, the design part seems to be graphic design. Like, do they need a logo? That seems like, you know, if I'm gonna ring the bell on that, that's Lisa or Tegel or Rebecca, Luigi. That, you know, I don't see Katie being at that spot right now. That doesn't mean that she's not capable. That doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means that she hasn't worked through interface to where I could recommend her join the team. So, like, immediately I'm like, I like the team, but I'm not sure that it's going to be a match for where Katie's at. Over here, let's go down to Project Local. So this is just the start of the project. We are 3 teammates looking for other volunteers. I feel less good about this one right away because I don't have a great visibility into what it is that they're wanting to do. So this is live tracking grocery catalog. Choose where to rate and simple and sober. I'm not sure what they mean by sober. Yeah, not enough visibility into this, so the answer there is no. I do wish I could see who else is volunteering. It's just doesn't have the visibility that I want. COVID donation. Okay, so this has a little more of a focus, like Jabran. Let's click here. He's linked to his Twitter. He's tech lead at former front-end tech lead at Rate People, advocate, regional lead at Google Mapmaker. Okay, so this is somebody with a tech background. Looks like on April 27th he introduced this idea, so he's about a month into it. So again, shop local, not enough. Breathe, maybe. Oh, well, that was weird. So I do hate it that this help with COVID site opens new. It opens new links every time. Okay, tasks that need to get done. Data from organizations, charities, and individuals working on the ground in different countries, make them discoverable globally. So the donations, like, I don't see a design need here. So yeah, let's go look at it. They could probably use some design, but yeah, I'm not crazy about it. So I'm not crazy about it, and I don't see them projecting that they have a need for design. Okay. I can't even pronounce that, but let's just come down and see. Okay, so they're saying they need front-end, back-end, Android, marketing volunteers, content writing volunteers. There's something there. Product managers, they list design as a specific skill they need. This is provide live virtual classes to students in India. Volunteers have no motive, profit motive, no. Okay, so they're being upfront about this isn't intended to be a profitable organization, or at least they're saying the right thing. We are currently in the prototype phase. There's a possibility. This does appear to be focused on India. So, you know, that, you know, I give talks in India, done it a few times now. So I'm not against working with a team overseas. I'd be interested to know where they're located at. Like, is it distributed over a large geographic region, like where there's somebody that you might have a day-to-day overlap with, or is it all in India, which means that you're like 12 and a half hours behind them at all times, or behind them, because like if it's noon here, it's like 11:30 there, or however that time zone shift is. It depends on the time of year. So possibly, but I see a mention of design here, but I don't really see, and we'll come back to this. I don't necessarily see a match there with that one. So tutor book, project tutor book. So they've got 5 to 10 developers and a designer, another 2 to 5 people on outreach, and 50 volunteers to do the tutoring. So this is backfilling for students, connecting students with teachers or with mentors to help the teachers. So I like that. UX UI designers, you'll be working closely with our development team. Like, it doesn't tell you what you'll be doing, but it does tell you who you'll be working with. It does specifically say we need a UXer, we need a UI UXer. It does say that they have a deficiency there, 5 to 10 developers, a designer. They probably have testing needs. They probably have research needs. This is a green light. This one's a green light. I would like to have a better idea of who, but they do link to their GitHub. So let's see. Is this tutor time? This is tutor book, so that's the README. Updated 23 hours ago, so it's in. I can look at Nicholas here. Nicholas is busy. So tutor book. It's Palo Alto. This has got green lights all over it. Okay, so and of these, this is the one that I'm like, okay, it's in the right spot. I can see people that I can see, like, it's got it's got genuine heat behind it. It's looks like it's built in React. Says old tutor book, source code available. It's interesting that old tutor book. Kind of want to see. Okay, so there's like some stuff that's 5 months ago, but this is just Firebase and get ignore. So 2 months ago, last commit on April 2nd. So this is also something that's went through a couple of versions, which is nice. It does give me a little bit of a hint of a, is this a thing that might at some point become a thing, a business, but it feels voluntary. It feels tutor. There's not a lot of money to be made in that space, but does a lot of good. So I would, Katie, I'd bless that one. So I'm gonna bless this one. So let's not do that. Let's give that one the green light. Let's give Breathe Zimbabwe kind of a yellow. And the rest of these I'm gonna have to say no. So I'm just gonna put those in red. But that's kind of how I go through and I investigate these projects when people are pitching themselves to me for volunteer work. I am a big fan of going this route, by the way, because I really do believe it gives you an opportunity to get in and flex your muscles and get another project under your belt. It really does. Your portfolio of work really does come down to just working with people and collaborating and finding projects to work on. I don't think that you should have just a bunch of self-driven collaboration projects that come from a boot camp or crap. Okay? Straight up. Like, people are going through Fresh Market. I'm not going to put you through another Fresh Market project because you already have one. The Fresh Market project is really there to help you understand the process. Once you understand the process, there is no need to go do a second round of the process. What I want you to then do is do what Katie's doing right here. Katie's going through and going, okay, I want to find a team to collaborate with on a nonprofit project, and go do something unique, okay? And go do something that has some real. There's real struggle there. They're building something. It isn't flying off of a script, okay? You're gonna have to do some critical thinking. It's not going to perfectly line up with the design process as you've learned it. You're gonna have to learn how to give and take and develop those personal skills. I think it's just the way to go. especially if you are not going to a 4-year university and you need to level up very quickly so you can get into the job market. You've got to get into a team-based project. 2017, I was speaking at IXDA, and I had this really interesting. There was this interesting group of us, and I've got to thank Dave Malouf, who was kind of he gathered some of the speakers together, and we were walking around New York, and it was. I remember it pretty clearly. Like, I ran on Sunday, and it was 32 degrees, and then I turned around and it was like 65 the next day. This is in February. So the day of the Super Bowl, it was cold, then it was like 65 the next day, and then a snowstorm blew in. Like, all basically within a couple of days. But Dave had thrown this Super Bowl party, and I was talking to people from Google and people from Microsoft, and the lady I was talking to from Microsoft, she was asking a question about boot camps. And she said, well, how do they get together on teams? I'm not interested in talking to anybody who's not working on some sort of team. They have to have collaborated with somebody. And she's exactly right. And that's one of the reasons why I push this approach, because it's not enough just to get you collaborating with a bunch of other students. That's kind of, why. It is important to attach you into a group of people that are coming together to work on a common cause, okay? And I really think that experience is something that you can talk about. You can talk about the things that you learned from remote collaboration. And guess what, folks? Shopify went completely remote. Twitter went completely remote. Facebook is hinting at going completely remote. You can choose to work in the offices, but whatever. There's going to be more and more companies that go completely remote. Having remote collaborative experience, it's going to be in high demand. Okay? And not everybody's going to have it in the job market, so you might as well go get it now. All right, so Katie, I hope that breakdown was helpful. The Breathe Zimbabwe, but Tutorbook is like got all the things I'm looking for. I wish that I didn't have to dig to find out who's working on it, because it was pretty easy to find out who's working on it. That's why that was the big thing with Breathe Zimbabwe. At least I know the team. Like, I can go look the team up. I can find out who those people are. The other three, just no. But push those aside. So that said, let's come back over here to Rebecca had a question. Yes. And Rebecca's question was related to, can I please have the link to the code pen for the hamburger menu that's built in CSS for mobile? I finally want to implement it in my portfolio for mobile. Thanks. All right. So that is this. All right. And as you come down, you get this, and you get that, and it's fantastic. Okay. I want to talk about how it's built. You may be looking at the red and green up here and like, well, why would I want that like red and green stripe thing? So when we come in and we look at it, really comes down to menu, header, menu icon, nav icon. If you come up here, you can find it right here. So there's a label, menu icon, menu button, nav icon. It's a span that's in here right there. So if we noted that out, saved it, goes away. There's nothing there. Bring it back, save it. It's there. Right now, it's the only thing giving this shape. Okay? So if we come down here and take a look at that, it says background red. Well, that's weird. Background red. What if I said background yellow? And now that changed to a yellow. You can barely see it, so maybe I'll just increase the size of it. That didn't work the way I thought it was going to work. So the height, and let's go with blue. Blue's a little easier to see anyway. So there's blue. Maybe 'll give it 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. Okay, so blue is at 5 is starting to fill up, so maybe 4 gives us a little, yeah, that 4 gives us just enough. The lines here are changing size every time I make an adjustment. They're all changing all at the same time. And that's because, well, 11's not going to do anything good. That's because these are CSS lines that are drawn in CSS. The width currently is 18 pixels. If I changed it to 40, I get a lot wider. You get the idea. And then when we do this, it's going to get really crazy. Okay? So, basically, this is being drawn as a single, it's not really even a line. Okay? It is a shape. It's a span. It's displayed block. Background here is blue. The height is 2 pixels. The position is relative. There's a transition. If I slowed this transition down to 2 seconds and I hit it, what actually is the transition affecting? It's affecting how that middle line disappears. Watch again. And actually, I'll make it larger so we can all see it. And that's weird. There it goes. The speed with which that line disappears seems to take forever. And that's because we've put it on 2 seconds instead of 0.2 seconds. 0.2 seconds, it's almost instant. Okay? So here, obviously, we do not need this to be 100 pixels wide. Let's go with something a little more tasteful. And there you are. Now, the before and after, that's where you're getting the lines to the top and bottom. The hamburger menu's 3 lines. This before and after is currently set to green. If I set it to red, you see the before and after is now red. It is basically saying, draw this before and after wherever this combination of classes resides. So I've got background. There's no content here. If I said give content of A, it's going to give you A's. We don't need that. So the content is blank. Can't remember. Will it blow up? Yeah, it blows up if you don't have that in there. And that's, you know, I've had that question come up before. Like, Chris, if there's no content, why do I have to have that there? And it's because it needs something to say, okay, content would go here, so draw the line. There isn't any content actually to put in, but I still have to have the blank, the string of whatever that content would be. It has to be there. Otherwise, it won't draw the lines. It's chicken and egg sort of thing. The position is absolute. Okay, so absolute is relative. You know, the other line is relative, but the position of absolute basically is saying place this before and after, directly before and after that span. Okay, and if we change this, if we took this out, okay, it just like collapses down. All right, there isn't any space around it at all. So absolute, hugely important to keep it from collapsing down. The ease, this is the same. If I change this to 2, that X pattern is going to take forever to kick in and go away. It's like painful to watch it move that slow. And the width here is 100%. Well, what does that mean? Well, this is attached to that main element. All right. So this is using the before after pseudo class. So when you hop into width, if I say it's 110 pixels wide, well, this is going to be 110 pixels wide because my width is 100%. If I said this width is 50, I don't get that that full, I don't get that full full alignment, you know, that this full arrangement here. And this is where, and I've had people ask this question before. So they'll ask, okay, well, how do I get this to be, I want these to be different links. Okay, so if I want it before, I'm going to delete this away. Actually, I'm just going to keep it like this. I want before to be 75. Okay? And then I want after, I'm going to delete that away. So I want after to be 50. And what you'll notice when you do it this way is after is actually the top and before is the bottom, which is very interesting. One of the big reasons why I've seen people want to do this is they want to give some variety to this design. Okay. Now it makes it weird when you go to the X. Okay, so like the transition then has to be adjusted to make that work. But if you're looking for some sort of odd design that has a little bit of a feel to it, like the X isn't going to work there. You would really need to go with a. You'd really need to transform. So like this has got the down here. When this is checked, or when this is basically clicked, we rotate this 45 degrees. If I said I wanted to rotate it 90 degrees, okay, and it's kind of hard to see the exact. Let's change it to 0 degrees. Okay, so this bottom line is just going to move up instead of going the negative 45 degrees. So if I wanted to make this, width go the full route, what I assume that I would need to do, and I have not tested this out ahead of time, but I assume that I would need to adjust this width right here. And that's what happens. So I can go and if I adjust these widths both here, I get that X back. That X comes back to me. Okay? But I can still have the variable width hamburger menu, which also gives it a feel of not being the traditional hamburger menu, which some people like. And then, but you still get the X. Okay? So I just wanted to take a second and kind of walk you through what was happening there. Obviously, this still has the oops, and it appears that I've thrown Melanie's link in here. Yeah, I should probably take that out. So I'm gonna bring that here, bring that here, and we'll do this as well. Okay, so we get here, we got that drop down. The one last thing I want to look at here before we bounce out of this, and I just kind of send this along to Rebecca, is how does content show up behind this? And you'll notice that right away, like, hey, that's weird. This is getting pushed down from the top. Yeah, that sucks. I hate that. This is one of the things that always happened when I was when I was first doing design like this. Anytime you put content behind, what's actually happening is this H1 that we've got right here, it has a margin top on it, and that margin top is pushing things down. So the first thing that I've always done is I've gone into the header and I said, okay, header margin top minus 10 pixels, and that moves it up. Sometimes you got to do like minus 30. I don't need that much, but minus 20. And now it's back where it needs to be. Okay, but at the same time you've got this div down here, and we're going to call this class. And normally I would make this a section, but it's just a div today, folks. So let's just go with it. So this hero that is in here. I need this first test display. I'm just gonna name this can't see, and obviously you can tell there is something back there that we cannot see. Okay. To get to the point where we can see it, I need to give this hero some space, and I'm going to say hero margin top 100 pixels, and that knocked the whole thing down. What the hell? What's going on? So this hero is basically pushing on the entire page, but if I said padding 100 pixels, it pushes it around the other way. Obviously, when that happened, it lightened the load. I don't have to have that weird margin top on there anymore. And now that's working. I can get rid of the margin top that I had before. This is a bit deep, so I don't necessarily want to keep that at 100. So maybe 70. All right, that's fine. And when this goes up large, you'll still need the same thing. And the reason you'll need that same thing, and I'm just going to duplicate this a few times. The reason you'll need this at the top is we've put a fixed position on our nav. Okay? If we said static, that's probably going to do some weird stuff. Yeah. So static is not going to full width across, but it's now not really needing to be. Whoa! What happened? That was no good. I didn't like that at all. Let's not do that again. Let's come back here to our header. And instead of using static, we had fixed before. Okay, and with fixed, we've got the drop down, or we've got the drop shadow, and it stays in place, and that's great. Maybe you don't want yours to be fixed. Absolute would also work here, and that's going to hold the width. But in that case, it does scroll away. It's at the top of the page. What's really important, though, is that this is always going over the top of it. Like you don't want this drop down appearing behind. All right. So this positioning helps with that. Fixed does the same thing. So fixed, it doesn't look like anything changed, but now you can scroll that away. So I'm gonna delete this this collection of hero elements off the back of that. So we don't need that. I'm also going to note it out because I also don't need to see it. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this pointer from blue to 333. I'm going to change this to 333. Although one thing I did like is I liked keeping this background in that FF000, so giving us the red. Although I didn't want it to be there, I need it to be after. I need it to be with the transitions. So down here, I'm going to change the before afters to be red, so that it transitions from that black to the red. It basically says, hey, if you want to close this thing, click this X. All right. So now when we click this, we get a red, and it goes back to black. Hey, I like that. Okay. So I'm going to send this along to Rebecca, so you can dig in. But I hope today was helpful for you folks. You know, we went in a few different directions, which I always like to do. I like to go in different directions. So we looked at James's case study, and James, again, I think you got a lot of the right ideas. I just would like to see a little bit of a reorganization and an emphasis on getting me, like, setting the scene for me. Like, what is this thing? Like, give me a visual up there. Katie, some really good COVID projects out there. particularly that last one. So you gave me 5. Now we've got a total. You've given me 11. Now we got a total of 5 that I would totally go like apply for and begin those conversations. And then Rebecca, we did the walkthrough in the CSS hamburger menu, and we showed kind of some ways to customize it away from just what was in the box. We'll send that link along so you can experiment with that over the weekend. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all. I've got Chelsea coming up here, top of the hour. So I'm going to bounce out of here. And I hope that you all have a great weekend. If you have any questions, hit me up in Discord. Otherwise, I'll see you on Monday. Take care.